has never worked as a question to the point where we had a conversation about it and we're like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we slightly reworded it. Okay, now is it time to worry about the Chiefs?
Of course it's time to worry.
Wow.
Listen, after the Denver loss, I sat here and let me go back a step further. After the Bills loss, going into the bye, when they were at 5-4,
yeah.
I said, listen, tough loss given the fact that they had already given some games away, but I expect them to finish 12-5. And I remember your reaction. You were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really. I think they're going to go 12-5. They then lost their immediate next game, and after that Denver game, I said, well, 12-5 is not going to happen when you're 5-5. They need to go 6-1 the rest of the way. Yeah. That was 1-1 ago. So that means the margin of error is down to nothing. Now, Patrick seems confident. The fact that Patrick, for the first time in his career, is not just talking about the next game, I found noteworthy.
That's interesting.
And the fact that Andy Reid today, we don't have the sound yet. He did it 20 minutes ago. You guys probably haven't seen the quote. Andy Reid was damn near defiant in his press conference today about how close they are, how the odd turn of phrase he chose, which is the Chiefs are going to tickle your tonsils on every play the rest of the season. His words, not mine. I don't even know what it means. And that they seem to believe they can rip off 5 in a row. But here's why it's a problem, and it's a problem greater than the fact that they are up against the best pass rush in football on Sunday night, certainly without their starting left tackle, who's out for a month or longer, and maybe without their starting right tackle as well, which would put them in a terrible position. Here's the problem. The problem is the old Chiefs that you guys wanted so badly to be back are back, but in a bad way. Because the old Chiefs, the 2018 Chiefs, had a lot of games like that Cowboys game, where Mahomes does magical stuff, where they score a bunch of points, where Mahomes' numbers are good, but they can't get a stop. And that's the problem. This Chiefs team has the 6th fewest sacks in football, the 4th fewest turnovers in football, and on 3rd and long, they cannot get off the field. From post-Tyreek Hill trade.
3rd and long.
Gee, 3rd and long.
Yeah.
So 3rd and long, post-Tyreek Hill trade. Because I do look at the Chiefs as 2018 to 2021 might have been the most fun, but it was 2 Super Bowl trips, 1 Super Bowl victory, and 2 AFC Championship losses. 2022 to 2024, when the defense was able to more than hold up its end, they went to all 3 Super Bowls, they won 2 of them. This year, they can't get off the field, which has led to this stunning stat and graphic. 3 times this year, Mahomes has executed, go to the next one, Dust, please, a 4th quarter comeback and lost. For context, and I'm not doing a Brady comp, but just for context, that happened to Brady it was year 15. When in his career he had executed a 4th quarter comeback and they lost 3 times. It's happened 3 times this season. They can't get off the field. And when we were going to war on Wednesday, maybe more than we should have, about the predictions for the game, Brew and I both said we felt very confident Mahomes would cook, more confident in that than that the Chiefs would necessarily win, because what I was worried about could happen is what happened. They couldn't get off the field. And so now they have no margin of error left, and they have to run the table. So, yeah, it's time to worry, like legitimately.
Yeah, it's obviously time to worry. Because of their pedigree, because of the respect you have for them and what they've done, you give them a small chance of getting this done. But the thing is, they have not shown any evidence outside of their history that they can run the table. Now, here's one good thing for them. The other teams that they are battling with, Indianapolis, Houston, Jacksonville, they have the Chargers. The Chargers have a really tough schedule. And Herbert, is banged up as well as the offensive line. So those teams do have tough schedules. 10-7 won't do it, though. They have to run the table. They have to win out. But there is a little hope because of the schedules of some of these teams. But Nick alluded to it, the injuries on the offensive line. Like Josh Simmons going to be out this week. Maybe, Trey might be out.
I think Josh is going to be out, Brew.
He might be out, right.
Yes.
He could be out the rest of the season. And you're facing Houston, which is the second best pass rushing team in the league, and maybe the hottest team in the league.
I think they're the best defense. Right?
Yeah.
All right. I have absolutely zero interest in entertaining discourse concerning the Kansas City Chiefs' offensive line challenges. My reasoning is straightforward. Nick Wright has consistently and categorically refused to extend the slightest benefit of the doubt to Justin Herbert when the Chargers' offensive line has been decimated by injuries. He has refused and continues to engage in mocking commentary, quipping, "Oh, I suppose the offensive line is the most crucial unit, the most vital component for the Chargers now." Given that persistent stance, I categorically refuse to indulge that line of reasoning now. Under different circumstances, I would consider it a valid point of discussion. Addressing trench play is important. But no, Nick does not get to selectively play that card. The principle of intellectual consistency prevents it. I also find it a fascinating development that the prevailing narrative for years was that Patrick Mahomes single-handedly carried the Kansas City Chiefs franchise. Yet now we witness the critical role their elite defensive unit has played. Conversely, in a season where that defensive dominance has slightly receded, the Chiefs find themselves in a precarious standing situation, jockeying with teams like the New York Giants and the Miami Dolphins. Could the underlying reason be that football is, in fact, the ultimate team sport? Could it be that success was never 100% attributable to Patrick Mahomes alone and never has been? Yes, that appears to be the correct conclusion. I'm glad we could collectively arrive at that rather evident truth. I acknowledge that Kansas City supporters sometimes perceive my commentary as arriving with a certain intensity regarding their team. Paradoxically, I am now positioned to defend them. I have, in fact, defended them consistently throughout this entire season, a point that should not be forgotten. The reason for this defense is simple. I operate from a position of genuine impartiality. I harbor no innate animosity towards the Chiefs organization. I was an admirer of their play up until the point where a segment of their fan base directed sustained and vocal criticism my way, which is the source of the occasional jesting remarks I make. Most of those are intended to be lighthearted and tongue-in-cheek, though navigating humor and sarcasm seems to be a struggle for some individuals online. What I will assert is this. Of course, the Kansas City Chiefs are capable of embarking on a significant winning streak. To claim otherwise would be, in my view, completely detached from reality. Unless I misinterpreted his commentary, I believe Brew suggested they have provided no evidence to believe they could string together consecutive victories. That perspective is baffling. Of course they can. The potential is undeniably present. They are right there, in the thick of every contest. They are not being systematically dismantled. They do not currently resemble the disjointed entity we see in the Philadelphia Eagles. I am not convinced they have yet exhibited a single performance as profoundly poor as the lows we have witnessed from the Eagles, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, or the Denver Broncos this season. I genuinely do not believe we have seen the Chiefs' performance floor sink as low as the basement levels other presumed contenders have shown. From my analytical vantage point, the Chiefs have not demonstrated a nadir as deep as any other team in the league. I simply do not perceive it. When their offensive machinery is operating in sync, and this is a slightly more nuanced assertion to make definitively at this moment, I am uncertain there exists a more frightening offensive unit when all components are firing in perfect harmony. The prospect is genuinely intimidating. Whether you consider the Detroit Lions, the New England Patriots, the Denver Broncos, or the Los Angeles Rams this year, if you envision a scenario where two offenses are performing at an absolute peak, both cooking, as the saying goes, featuring weapons like Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, and of course the Andy Reid-Patrick Mahomes brain trust. In a hypothetical fourth quarter where all these units are executing at an elite level, which one inspires the greatest confidence? The Detroit offense? The Los Angeles Rams offense? The Denver Broncos offense? The Philadelphia Eagles offense? The closest counter-argument might be the Eagles based on their prior postseason pedigree, but that feeling is absent this year because of the palpable inconsistency. At any moment, they might produce a swift 3-and-out. Therefore, I maintain my position. Let me be clear. I am not making a prediction that the Chiefs will definitively qualify for the playoffs. I am refraining from any concrete forecasts. However, if there exists one franchise capable of orchestrating such a resurgence from their current position, it is unequivocally them. If you perform the basic arithmetic, what is required? They would likely need to win approximately 9 consecutive games to secure a Super Bowl victory, somewhere in the range of 8 to 10 contests when factoring in the playoff path. This is a feat they have demonstrably accomplished before. As I have frequently articulated, most recently in my Denver Broncos analysis earlier today, prevailing in close football games is a hybrid of skill and fortune. To avoid rehashing the entire analogy, I will simplify it. Stephen Curry serves as the perfect embodiment of this principle. Basketball provides an ideal framework. There exists an element of the basketball gods. It is fortunate when Stephen Curry converts 8 of 12 three-point attempts. It is unfortunate when he makes only 2 of 10. He is a brilliant shooter, arguably the greatest in history. Some nights he will be 8 for 12. Other nights he will be 2 for 10. There is an element of chance that dictates which outcome manifests on a given evening. It is fortunate that he was incandescently on fire during a specific Game 7. If he possessed the ability to summon that state at will, he would perpetually reside within it. The influence of variance, of those intangible gods, is real. Football possesses its own analogous deities. Consistently winning close games is absolutely a skill. It requires greatness, special talent, excellent coaching, and sound organization. It also requires favorable alignment from the football cosmos. You need the opposing team to commit an unforced error. You require the ball to take a favorable bounce. This is not to assert that the Kansas City Chiefs were merely lucky to win the Super Bowl. However, it was fortunate that Greenlaw suffered an Achilles injury mid-game. It was fortunate that a 49ers player muffed a pivotal punt. It was fortunate that Christian McCaffrey's rare fumble occurred on the opening drive of the Super Bowl. That is the dimension of luck I reference. This is not a commentary on the Chiefs being a lucky team in a derogatory sense, just as one would not call Stephen Curry lucky for being an elite shooter. It is an acknowledgement of universal variance, the unpredictable distribution of fortune. This is not akin to finding a $5 bill in an old coat. It is a broader, more existential concept of how random events converge within competition. Presently, the Kansas City Chiefs are not recipients of this favorable variance. It is as if they expended their entire reserve. Like a video game character depleting a special power meter, they utilized their allotment last season and now find their reservoir empty. They are not catching those critical breaks. This is their current reality. Consequently, I fully comprehend why Chiefs observers can examine their roster, the players, the coaching staff, the Andy Reid-Patrick Mahomes partnership, and conclude, we are right there. You can scrutinize the Philadelphia Eagles. They are playoff-bound with a superior record, yet they do not feel right there. The Carolina Panthers may have a better record, but they lack that aura. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in the playoff picture, but the feeling is absent. The Jacksonville Jaguars are presently seeded second or third, though standings are in flux. Based on pure logic, even now, I would favor the Chiefs over the Jaguars in a hypothetical matchup. If you were instantly transported to an AFC Championship game scenario, it would make logical sense. Actually, revise that. A wildcard round scenario, implying other teams have advanced. A Patriots versus Chiefs wildcard game. You should still possess a tremendous degree of confidence in the Kansas City Chiefs in that setting. I have been effusive in my praise for the New England Patriots and have proclaimed Drake May to be a franchise-altering truth. I have stated I require no further evidence. He is amazing, brilliant, and has the complete support of team and coaching staff. My endorsement has been vocal and consistent. Despite that high regard, you would be irrational not to acknowledge a substantial likelihood that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs could go on the road and defeat those same Patriots. To deny that possibility would be to view the situation through an exceptionally narrow and biased lens. I am not stating that would be my official prediction, nor am I asserting it is the destined outcome. However, if you cannot even concede the strong possibility, and I don't mean a dismissive anything can happen, but genuinely acknowledge it, then your analysis is compromised. You deserve significant credit if you can, with analytical conviction and not mere fandom, declare, the Patriots win that game, and stand by it unequivocally. Consider their upcoming rematch with the Denver Broncos at Arrowhead Stadium, a contest with massive implications. I understand why sentiment is currently down on the Chiefs. I comprehend why things feel unsettled. It requires minimal imagination to conceive that if they had been healthier from the season's outset, their standing would be improved. It is plausible they are a better team than their record indicates. It is easy to envision that if one or two pivotal plays had bounced their way, they would still be positioned as legitimate contenders. As of this moment, they are not even in the playoff picture. This is how I continue to perceive the Chiefs. That perspective remains. This does not negate the reality of their uphill battle, the changed circumstances, or that they may not be as dominantly great as in years past. All those factors can simultaneously be true. However, I believe a great many people are exceedingly eager to prematurely bury the Chiefs or to retrospectively explain away their success over recent years. They have undoubtedly been beneficiaries of favorable fortune at critical junctures, which directly contributed to their immense success. As such, fortune is often a requisite component throughout a grueling season, a playoff run, or the sustenance of a dynastic period. Tom Brady benefited from Russell Wilson's catastrophic goal line interception. He also was on the unfortunate end when Nick Foles transformed into the greatest quarterback who ever lived for one Super Bowl, literally out-dueling Brady. That was unfortunate. Yet, it was fortunate for the Eagles to face a backup quarterback who performed like a superhero. The point is, fortune gives and fortune takes away. We observed a prolonged period of give for the Chiefs. Presently, we are witnessing a phase of take. This is the natural cycle. It does not, however, constitute a massive, definitive indictment of who the Kansas City Chiefs have been historically, or even who they are at their core right now. Nevertheless, it is telling that the Chiefs currently find themselves statistically grouped with teams like the Dolphins and Giants in metrics such as securing leads in the fourth quarter after trailing. That is not the company you aspire to keep. That's the realm of Tua Tagovailoa, Jackson Dart, and coaches on the hot seat. It's also important to recognize contrasting data, such as their third down conversion percentage from the 22 to 24-yard line ranking fourth in the NFL. That is special. That is substantive. That is a tangible, huge benefit they have enjoyed, and its decline can directly correlate with their current record. I have news for everyone. Other elite franchises and quarterbacks have endured these consequences more routinely than the Kansas City Chiefs. Consider the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, or the Cincinnati Bengals. What were the defensive rankings for Joe Burrow's supporting units over recent years? Not good. Joe Burrow struggled to reach the playoffs last season while operating behind what I considered the worst offensive line I had ever witnessed, supported by one of the least effective defenses I had seen. Patrick Mahomes does not have a supporting cast anywhere near as deficient as what Joe Burrow contended with, and yet Mahomes is now struggling to reach the postseason. It is perfectly acceptable to have that conversation. It is valid to defend the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes while also posing the question, how do you reconcile this specific situation given the historical criticism leveled at a Joe Burrow or a Justin Herbert regarding their supporting casts? The retort cannot perpetually be, well, Mahomes earns more leeway because he won Super Bowls early in his career. Joe Burrow has never been afforded the defensive or systemic advantages that Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson have periodically enjoyed. Therefore, the answer cannot eternally be that Mahomes' past championships render him immune to critique or to the same analytical frameworks applied to his peers. For the sake of clarity, I am not attributing their 6-6 record solely to Patrick Mahomes, though the reality is you can identify direct moments where his play contributed to a loss, the pick six against Jacksonville, the interception against Denver. These had legitimately devastating, game-altering consequences, just as Chiefs fans highlighted specific performances by Joe Burrow, questioning his output in a given week. If you are willing to engage in that granular, outcome-based critique for others, you must apply it uniformly. You cannot continually seek refuge behind past achievements. That is not how analysis functions. It never functioned that way for Tom Brady in real time. It did not function that way for Peyton Manning. It does not function that way for Matthew Stafford or Jalen Hurts, both Super Bowl winners. It did not function that way for Aaron Rodgers historically. It is an invalid refuge. Cease hiding behind it. Either maintain consistency in the level and rigor of conversation you apply to all quarterbacks, or refrain from the discourse entirely. You cannot have it both ways. Multiple, seemingly contradictory truths can coexist simultaneously, but intellectual honesty, prohibits selective application of standards. But these are simply my reflections. I would be absolutely delighted to hear your own. What are all of your thoughts concerning the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you believe it is now time for genuine concern in Kansas City? Let me know your perspectives in the comment section below. I read every single comment. So, whether you find yourself in agreement or in vehement opposition, let's engage in some dialogue. Let's have some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's ensure we are enjoying the process. And please do consider subscribing. We are in the process of cultivating a phenomenal community here and would absolutely adore having you as a part of it. My goal is to build something to which we all feel a genuine connection, something we are genuinely thrilled to be involved with. I believe we are making significant progress toward that objective. Also, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely assists with its visibility within the platform's algorithm. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you next time.